What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So for this movie review and reaction, as you can see from the picture on screen, we are taking a look at the film called The Dark and the Wicked. Now this film has been out for a minute. It actually came out in 2020, but I'm finding many people either haven't seen this film and they have heard about it, or they haven't seen it and they haven't heard about it. So again, it came out in 2020, had a very short theatrical release, very short, in November, I think it was early November, late October, early November of 2020. It only maybe brushed over $400,000. I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but I know it was just a little bit over $400,000 it did at the box office. Now, keeping in mind where we were at in November 2020, that sounds about right. I mean, a lot of people weren't going out and seeing movies in general or period, and there were some areas where theaters were actually still closed at the time. So this wasn't a film that was going to, I think, make a big splash at the box office. And I don't think it would have it wouldn't have been a big hit, just because we don't see a lot of horror films unless they're big budget box office movies off of established franchises. For example, like the more recent ones like Scream or Halloween, things of that nature. They're not going to hit big at theaters. Now, unless it's something very unique and has a huge cult following, for example, like Terrifier. We saw the success of Terrifier 3. So while I'm not saying it's not possible for films such as this to hit big, word of mouth spreads, and everyone goes and sees it, Terrifier 3, I think, was an anomaly. Again, it had a big cult following behind it to support it, which is, I think, why it got such the reaction and such the support that it did. Now, this film, like I mentioned, came out in 2020. It is directed by Brian Bertino. It was directed by him, written, produced by him, and there was also some other producers as part of the film as well. It does star Marion Ireland and Michael Abbott. They are the two main characters, primarily Marion, who plays Louise, and Michael Abbott Jr., who plays Michael. They are siblings. So we're going to jump right into the details of this film, and then I will give my rating out of 5 on it. But I will try to keep this review and the walkthrough as short as possible. So just going into it, this is a movie review and summary, so there are going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen this film, then I would suggest pause it, come back to this video another time, drop a comment in the comment section once you have seen the film, letting us know what you think, letting us know if you agree with our rating or not. Otherwise, like I'm saying, we are going into heavy spoilers from this point forward. So this film was roughly about an hour and a half, give or take. By the time you strip out the beginning and ending credits, it's roughly about an hour and 25, hour and 28 minutes. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I love the film, and I loved the film for what it was trying to achieve and the story it was attempting to tell. That's why I love this film. It is considered as far as a subgenre of horror, it's part of the supernatural subgenre of horror. So it does deal with a demonic entity that plays a pivotal role in how the film plays out. So let's get into the actual details of the film now. So like I mentioned, you have the two siblings, Louise and Michael. So they are going to be returning home, but prior to that, this film starts off with where we are watching an elderly woman, and she is taking care of her sick elderly husband who is bedridden. He's at the end of his life. He's on oxygen. She's primarily just there to take care of him. Yet she is hearing things, and they live on a farm. I think that's what probably makes this film a bit more eerie, is that they live on a farm really out in the middle of nowhere, and they raise goats. So she, hears something outside, goes outside to check it out. Nothing's there, but she's hearing things. She's hearing voices. Her kids know that their father is sick, so that's where Louise and Michael come into play. And this does play out. So just a quick sidestep. This does play out over the course of a week, and as each day changes, it does tell you, like, today's Monday, today's Tuesday. So it does put that caption up on the screen when the screen goes black, letting you know it's the next day. So they do take us through the days here. So on Monday, this is all transpiring. The kids show up because it's early in the morning when all that transpires with the mother. The kids show up, and she flat out tells them both, I told you guys not to come. She even tells them that they need to leave. But they, I think as most kids, when one parent is dying and another is very elderly, they're like, oh, no, of course, we're not going to leave. We're going to be here. But she heeds them and say, no, you need to go. And it's upset with them, the fact that they even showed up. And once you watch as you go through the film, you understand why she's doing that, why she didn't want them to show up. So, again, the father is bedridden. He has a chronic illness, which he is, again, in the later stages of his life. And again, as the film starts to go into that first night that the kids are there, the mother is in the kitchen preparing food, it appears for the next day. And you can see then something happens. She hears something, and we're going to get a little graphic here now as we move into the story even further. So as she's sitting there cutting up carrots, she hears something, and then she has her hand on the cutting board, and she immediately starts cutting off her fingers, and then chopping up her fingers along with the carrots as she laughs. And you don't think it's necessarily her laughing, as it could potentially be the demonic entity that's there, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's truly her laughing and going crazy because the father is the one that is currently possessed or attempting to be possessed by the entity. Now the mother, so then the scene really ends at that point. It takes us right into the next morning, and we see this bloody scene. We see blood on the floor in the kitchen, and then both kids come running out. They can't find their mother. Obviously, they would have stumbled across the kitchen. We don't see them do that. We just see them running out of the house looking for her. They come across her in the goat shed where she has taken her own life. She has retired herself. They cut her down from what appeared to be, she used some sort of rope or material to take her own life. And they don't understand why, because again, she was just alive the previous evening when they had dinner. So now they're left to take care of their father now. And their father does have a nurse that does show up. It's the same nurse that shows up, and really she's just there sitting with him. At least there was somebody there while the mother was attending to other things throughout the house. So the nurse tries to then tell them in a roundabout way, hey, your mother was, saying things, talking to herself, talking to him, but didn't really feel that she was talking to him, that she was talking to something else, which then, starts to get them think, was their mother crazy? The son, Michael, eventually comes across her diary where she even expresses in even further detail that she feels that there is this evil presence, that there is this demonic entity that is trying to possess the husband, that is talking to them. She can hear the voices, and it just takes both kids aback because they had no idea that this was going on. The mother had never shared any of this to them, even in any previous phone conversations. So at the time, the mother has passed. It's just the two kids. It's just them. So at the mother's burial, a priest, or Father Thorn is the character's name, shows up to talk to them about what is transpired, and claims to have known their mother, which was odd to them because they both knew that their mother didn't believe in religion, didn't believe in God. So to them it seemed odd that their mother would have been talking to a priest, period, but let alone even talking to a priest about any of this stuff. So later that night, though, as both of them are in the living room, they see the same priest standing outside in the dark, calling them outside, before he just vanishes right in front of them, which now they both think they might be going crazy. Well, at the same time, the ranch hand, Charlie is his name, who was helping the parents on the ranch, helping them, take care of the goats and everything, lives nearby on the next parcel of land. He lives in an RV, and he was trying to get a hold of them, of the kids by phone while they were having this experience, while seeing this priest then disappearing. And then at the same time, he's hearing voices as well. So as he turns around, he sees an actual image of Luis with the same kitchen knife that the mother was using, and she's using it on herself, on her arms, on her neck. But again, he's just envisioning this, and this entity is trying to convince him that this is real and what to do about it, how to save himself from this. So he breaks down his knees, he has his shotgun, and he literally asks the entity, "What do you want from me?" And we don't hear the voice itself telling him what to do, but the outcome that we see transpire tells me the entity is trying to get each one of them to take their own lives, and that's exactly what Charlie does. Charlie uses his shotgun and retires himself, but unfortunately, because he lives on a plot of land, very secluded by himself, nobody knows that this has happened, and Luis and Michael are wondering why they haven't seen him in a couple days, why they haven't heard from him as the story progresses. So Luis attempts to call the priest back because when they initially met, he had given them a card with his information on it. She calls the number, a gentleman answers, and he's like, I don't know who you are. I've never visited you. I don't know who your mother is. I live in Chicago. I've never been to Texas. And now, again, they're worried that now this entity is now playing tricks on them even further to where this person never even showed up, period. So now they want to get their father out of the house. They feel like it's just a presence within the house. So if they leave, they'll be able to save themselves along with their father. So they bring in a doctor who tells them, I can't move him. He's so far down the path of his coming to the end of his life that if we had tried to move him, whether that's in a vehicle, we may not even get to the end of the driveway before he passes. So I cannot sign off on moving him. This is pretty much where he needs to be, and he's going to stay. Against their wishes, they don't want him. They don't want that. So now they're battling, trying to figure out how they can get their father out of the house, off the property. Now, while this is happening, as the story moves on, Luis and Michael is out in one of the goat sheds, and one of the goats comes walking up, and it's missing a leg. It's covered in blood. Obviously, this is shocking. They go to investigate him and Luis. They come to one of the fields behind the trees, and all of their goats have been slaughtered. And they're not slaughtered in a way that a wild animal like a wolf would have done. They both acknowledge that. So they truly believe this entity has now done this. Again, trying to drive them further mad. So they have no choice now but to burn all the animal carcasses, which was their, that's what the farm made their money off of, was raising goats, right? So now they've lost that. So that same night, though, while Michael is in the barn, the empty barn, he now sees an apparition of his mother, almost like in a decaying form, approaching him. And he knows it's not real. He closes his eyes, trying to convince himself it's not real, and she disappears. However, she reappears behind him. He takes out his buck knife and almost retires himself by using it, but is able to fight it off and toss away the knife. So that tells me that they almost have the ability to not listen to the entity, where it doesn't have full convincing power over them. So he manages to save himself, get out of that situation, and gets back to the house. Now, again, we're going day by day here within the film. So now, as that's happening, Luis is with her father at his bedside, and she has a nightmare while she falls asleep. She has this nightmare where the entity attempts to possess her, but she manages herself to resist it as well. And again, but while she wakes up, or what we appear to see her waking up from the nightmare, her father is actually levitated against the ceiling, but then again she then awakes again. So it was almost as if she was having a dream within a dream. All right, so now we have moved on to that next day, And Charlie's granddaughter, or who we believe to be his granddaughter, shows up to say, hey, my grandfather has passed. This is the first Luis is hearing about this. But very quickly she realizes this is just she's just seeing this herself. It's the demonic possession now trying to get within her head through another way, because it wants to possess her now. So the little girl disappears, while at the same time the nurse that's been taking care of the father shows back up, and now she goes into the room, and before she starts to go crazy herself, Luis contacts her brother, only to find out her brother has left. He's gone. Got in his truck, says, I'm going back home. My wife and kids need me. And of course, Luis is panicking now because he just up and abandoned her to deal with whatever's going on. Now we quickly leave the farm. We're following the brother now back to his house. And as soon as he walks in, he can't find either of his daughters, can't find his wife. He walks into the kitchen only to find what appears to be a situation where the mother retired both of the kids before retiring herself. This is what Michael is seeing. He's distraught, and he feels like now he's got nothing to live for. Now, without the demonic entity telling him what to do, he pulls out his knife and retires himself. That was originally attempted. And as soon as he does that, he looks back up, and their bodies have disappeared. The entity projected something. He believed it, and it wasn't real, in order to get him to do this action. Unfortunately, then he passes, and right as he does, his wife and kids walk in, see him, which then switches us right back to the farm, where the nurse now has gone crazy, has killed herself and knocked out Luis, where Luis now eventually wakes up, goes into the bedroom where her father now is at the moments of his end of his life, and passes. And right as soon as he does, as Luis is mourning, she sits up, and very quickly you see the dark entity leaving the father and now possessing her. And that's how the movie ends. So while the ending, not how I would have wanted to see it end, as far as we see it just as a quick jump scare possess her and the screen goes black, maybe being able to see, the possession within her, like taking over her, would have been nice to see. However, that's how the movie ends, credits roll. Overall, I'm giving this one a 4, maybe even a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the eeriness, the seclusion of it. It kept everything very dark. And I might be biased because I do enjoy the demonic possession, exorcist subgenre, religion horror subgenre of horror films. So I really did enjoy that aspect of it, that it was more of a demonic possession one. Again, I give this one a 4 to 4.5 out of 5. And I don't know if it has rewatch value so quickly. Like, I wouldn't go, in a couple of weeks watch this again. I think it does have rewatch value over time. So this is something I would go back and revisit and watch it again. I do like the story itself, how the entity was trying to get them, each one of them, in their own way, to do its bidding by taking them, retiring themselves in a specific way. And when they resisted, like the brother did, they found another way to go about it. So the entity tried using the mother. That didn't work. So what did it do? It went and used his family, projected something, got him to believe it in order to do what it wanted him to do. And once it did, it left, right? And it went back to the sister. Now, the one thing the movie doesn't do, it does not explain exactly where this entity came from. Why is this entity targeting this family? It doesn't cover that, doesn't touch on that. So I thought that was one aspect I would say is kind of missing. You're just kind of thrown into it, finding out that there's some sort of possession, demonic presence with happening, trying to take over the father, trying to take over each one of them, and it eventually does. So That's where we're at with The Dark and the Wicked. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think. If you've seen the film, what did you rate it? If you haven't seen the film, I would highly recommend go check it out. If you enjoy the supernatural, demonic subgenre of horror, this would be one I would say add to your list to check it out. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And to all new and existing subscribers, thank you so much for all the support. It is greatly appreciated. And we will see you at the next one. Peace.